Okay, I'm going to hand you over to Nick again then, and Nick is going to give us an update on changes to employment law due to COVID-19.
Hello again. So I'm just going to share my screen so that we can have a look down a wee document that I've produced, which will hopefully allow us to look at some of the changes to employment law which were planned and some which were not and have come into force by necessity. So starting from 13th of March, this is the date from which SSP became payable from day 1 rather than day 4, if the reason for the absence was self-isolation in line with guidance. So there's that was well received by employees, surely. We also, on 18th of March, had word that the tribunal service in England, Wales and Scotland were changing the way that they were working so that hearings could continue. Obviously, issues to do with employment tribunals are often time-bound and are very strict. So also applications to the tribunal service are now being made electronically. 25th of March, we had the Coronavirus Act 2020. So here we have, I'm not going to read it all out to you, and I'm sure that we'll be able to send this information out or make it available. So initially the Act is a temporary Act lasting for 2 years. And amongst other things, it gave the government the power to close down business premises and to restrict events of various sizes if it felt that that was needed for public health reasons. Then we have something we've been talking about already, which was the holiday carryover. So here it states that the workers can carry over leave they've been unable to take due to self-isolating, being ill, being furloughed, or through having to work through holidays. And it only applies to Euro days, so the UK's extra that we have on top of the 20 statutory leave days under the EU rules. So they can only be carried into the next leave year. Now, some of the changes here were obviously, we knew they were coming and they were planned for. So, for example, the minimum wage changes. Now, some things have been pushed to next year. For example, gender pay gap reporting. So this applies to companies that have at least 250 employees. So enforcement measures have been suspended. So if folk don't report their gender pay gap information, then there won't be anything happens because of that at the moment. Something else which was pushed to next year were the IR35 rule application to the private sector. There was quite a lot made about that, and actually many people are pleased that it's been pushed out because it may provide an opportunity for a rethink, which some people believe needs to be had about it anyway in its application. National minimum wage naming and shaming came in on the 6th of April, so I don't think that would be applying to anybody obviously in our sector, given the rates that we follow with the SGIB. Lengthening of the annual leave reference period. Now when we are calculating the average week's pay, it obviously had been 12 weeks that you look back, and now it's 52 weeks. Also the day one right to written statements of particulars. Now we have template written statements of particulars which will be available from the Select website, because there are certain things that didn't have to be included in written statements before that now do, and written statements now have to be provided, as it says here, on day one. So either on the day that someone begins their employment or before, an employee must have certain, I think it's 17 in total, different bits of information about the work that they're going to do and under what circumstances they'll do it. The Swedish derogation has been scrapped. So the Swedish derogation was a loophole in a way that allowed agencies to avoid equalising the pay of agency staff by employing them directly between any assignments that they had. So this, again, probably won't apply. The vast majority of employment is direct employment in our sector. So although it's something to be aware of, it's possibly not something that will have too much of an effect on members. So changes to the treatment of termination payments. There's some more detailed information when you click through, but yeah, this basically shows that in the past, no NICs were payable on termination payments over 30,000, but as of 6th of April, then Class 1 National Insurance employers, Class 1 National Insurance contributions over 30,000 will be due at 13.8%. It just keeps going. So we've got changes to the employment allowance. So again, further detailed information coming through here, but this is something that enables a business to claim a reduction in the amount of Class 1 National Insurance that they pay. And it depends on your previous employer NI bill, and the amount of the allowance is increasing as well by a third. So that's interesting. The parental bereavement leave and pay bill comes into force. This took a long while to come through Parliament, unfortunately, because there was a lot going on with Brexit. But now it is the case that any employee who sadly loses a child under the age of 18 will be entitled to 2 weeks leave at statutory rate. So there's more information here that you can click through on this document as well. So compensation limits have gone up. Vento bans come into force if you are in an employment tribunal where discrimination has been a factor, and the vento bans are a way of deciding how bad the discrimination has been. So lower is where it's been perhaps a one-off, I mean it's all bad, but it's a one-off occurrence. Middle band would be applied where someone has on more than one occasion been subject to discrimination, and upper would be where it's been flagrant and repeated and challenged and continued. So those have gone up quite considerably. And then the last one, so information and consultation changes. So the ICE regulations, there is a lower threshold now for a number of people in the workforce to make a request to set up the arrangements, but there still needs to be at least 15 employees making the request, and that applies to any business with 50 or more employees. So I'm going to unshare my screen if I can. There we go. Any questions on that whistle-stop tour of what's happened to do with COVID-19 and what's happened in the background that may have slipped past people's notice given what's been happening recently? And if I can't answer it right now, I will get the answer to you.
Nick, can I just ask, if people do have questions about who's the best person to contact at employment issues, what's the best resource online that people can go to?
The best resource, I will select her sending out circulars with these pieces of information attached, and the information is also available on our website. Gov.uk is probably the most straightforward source if you wanted an independent source for employment law updates. That would be, I'm always wary of, you type in something into Google and several unknown websites pop up, each with their own opinion, and it's always, you don't know who's written these things, and I would say that it's probably, if you wanted another independent source, then gov.uk is the way to go. The links that I've given in that document would be going to gov.uk to give further information on what we've provided.
All right, thanks, Nick.
Any other questions for Nick? No? Okay, thank you. Thanks, Nick. Okay, are there any other questions at all from anybody around anything while we're here that you want to talk about? No? Okay, well, all I can say then is thank you very much for, sorry, Ian.
Sorry, I was just going to say, to the members who are here, is there anything that currently you would like information on, or you think should be on our website, or we should be doing through our newsletter or through social or anything like that? Any information that would be handy for you on a day-to-day basis, or that you would like to know more about? We're kind of updating our communications every day with the latest developments, but if there's something that would help you and would be a kind of practical thing that would help you out, we're happy to explore it and try and make it happen. I take it silence means we're doing everything well, so that's great. Thanks very much.
Okay, thanks, Ian. Okay, well, I think that's us then. All I can say is thank you very much for attending this morning, and we hope you found it a worthwhile session. And thank you very much, everybody, for your input this morning. It's been great, so thank you very much.